98FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
Well, good morning, and how are you? It's a nice Monday. Well, weather-wise it's not, but it's nice to be a dub this Monday. There's Tom Malone. After an amazing weekend for Dublin sport, it really was.
Yeah, for both teams. I mean, the 5 in a row was secured in a pretty emphatic fashion in the end, wasn't it? I mean, 10-all at half-time. The first half on Saturday was just a joy to behold, wasn't it? I mean,
brilliant.
Zero cynicism, just two. I mean, Coach Cooper, I heard him talking at half-time. I had to move between halves, and I caught the halftime analysis on the radio, and Coach Cooper said it was like a game of backs and forwards, just both sets of forwards just had a field day. Obviously the Dubs shorted up a little bit in the second half and were a little more clever, but 10 points apiece at halftime, then a 6-point win. Just it
was amazing. It really was, and the atmosphere, everything was just incredible. Then on Sunday, I'd love to say I actually went to the match yesterday and kind of decided last minute we're going to win and we're going to support the ladies. But my God, what a dour match. Yeah, it was a tough enough watch with no scores until 24 to 26 minutes or whatever. But I think there's actually an issue with the rules and the interpretation of the rules. So Galway, the way they defended, they're entirely entitled to do that. And Dublin, I was thinking about the Rugby World Cup, but the Dubs, when they go forward, they're a bit like the men's team, they like to run, but in the ladies' game, you're just drawn, the defenders get a foul invariably in that situation because you're called up for barging, so there's less contact. And it's something that definitely annoys the players, because it's something we mentioned on Friday as well, the level of strength and conditioning in this Dublin team in particular, and in the ladies' game generally, it's far more physical. The athletes themselves are far more physically honed than they would have been in the past, far more strength and conditioning. So maybe there's scope to maybe make it a little more easy on the eye if there was a little bit more contact, because the players are certainly up for more contact, and you would imagine in training there probably is a little more contact than you see during the games. But it was clever by Galway on the other hand. Do you know what I mean? You play to within the rules and you come up with a strategy to get the better of a side that are probably better than you. Mick Bowen's girls came out on top in the end quite comprehensively. No, a win is a win, let's be honest.
Absolutely. But just that element of physicality in the game. The players are ready for the level of physicality, just the rules at the moment don't allow it.
Okay, now, here's a conversation that keeps coming up. Let's go back to talking about particularly the men's game. And as far back as the 2002 Strategic Review Committee, they set out a vision for the future of the GAA and advised then that Dublin should be split in two in order for greater promotion of our national games to take place. Dividing Dublin into or more teams has been suggested because, let's face facts, since 2011 our Dublin has won 7 of 9 championships. And realistically should have won the other 2 as well. Yeah, well, when you look at a breakdown, so we did an article on Off the Ball a couple of weeks ago about the sort of breakdown of players, and the North Dublin team would still be probably close to favourites to win the All-Ireland, you would think. I'll just read quickly. Gluckson in goal, Philly McMahon, Johnny Cooper and Darren Daly in the full back line, Lowndes, Small, McCaffrey at half back. By the way, that's leaving Merchant, Paddy Andrews and Paddy Small on the bench as well. You've got Brian Fenton and James McCarthy in midfield, Costello, Connolly and Howard at half forward, and Kilkenny, Brogan and Rock in the full, and that's just the north side team, with a bench of Evan Comerford covered in sticks, Owen Merchant, Paddy Andrews, Conor McHugh and Paddy Small on the bench. And what would you have on the south side team? Well, the south side team's not bad either. We're actually discussing this. The south side full forward line might be better actually, because it's Paul Mannion, Owen O'Gara and Conor Callaghan in full forward. Lorcan Malloy in goal. We had to kind of fill it out a little bit. Not all of these players are in the panel, but yeah, the full back line maybe slightly less. It was still Davy Byrne, Mike Fitzsimons, Killian O'Shea in there as well, Conor Mullally, Cian O'Sullivan and Nicky Devereaux, and Michael Darren McCauley in midfield, and Niall Scully, Kevin McMenamin and Andrew McGowan in the half forward line. Okay. And then that brilliant full forward line of Mannion, O'Gara and O'Callaghan. Yeah. And then you look at the club strength. Obviously, you got Parnell's, Nafina and Ballymun Kickham's on the north side, but like the sheer size of the likes of Crokes they're just huge. And Ballyboden St. Enda's, I think, is the biggest membership of any
Gaelic football club in Ireland. So is
this a realistic?
It won't happen. No, it can't happen.
Really?
I look, it's something.
I mean, people are already buzzing for the half dozen for next year. How long does it go on? I mean, Kerry were good.
Kerry were very good, but I mean, I'm from Wicklow. You're a Wicklow team. You're not going to beat South Dublin or North Dublin. You're adding another good. Like, it's not going to make a blind bit of difference to the Wicklows or the Leashes or Offleys of this world. It's just adding. It's just going to, if anything, Dublin North and Dublin South still get into Super 8s.
Right.
There's absolutely no.
You would have an All Ireland final.
I mean, you can go and say, well, okay, we'll split Dublin. And then how many? Oh, you are adding another contender. But I mean, if you look at the player pool, so that's only the player pool at the moment. When you consider they are one team, or we separate them out. So if they were actually just funneling into two teams, and then the sheer volume of talent that's at disposal, like that Southside team looks marginally weaker, but Ballybowden, St. Enda's and Kilmacud Crokes are two enormous clubs. And if you were going into Crokes that there was a probably even better chance of getting in a county team than there is already. And then it's also, you're thinking about, there's the Dublin development academies, and so you're actually splitting them and increasing the amount of people going into them. I don't think it's only going to make things more difficult for weaker counties, in my opinion.
Right.
Really.
Okay. Well, we'd like to hear from you. Thanks very much indeed. 98 FM's Tom Malone. I'd like to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. As I said, as far back as 2002, the GAA's Strategic Review Committee at the time recommended splitting Dublin in two, and it's been talked about ever since. Sorry, Tom,
there's one other thing that, I mean, one thing that could, or two things that could weaken Dublin potentially, and judged by one or two mutterings, and just like the loss of potentially Jim Gavin and potentially Stephen Cluxton would be two things that would massively weaken Dublin, you would think. No, like splitting them in two obviously would change things, but if Jim Gavin and Stephen Cluxton were to go in the next 6 or 8 months, that would affect things massively. And there's a little bit of speculation that
pack it in?
that Cluxton could call it.
Cluxton wouldn't surprise me, but
with Jim Gavin, there's been the read between the lines has been that there was so much involvement by the sideline and so much mention about particularly Jason Sherlock being brought in and things like that. So perhaps something could come of that. And Jim Gavin would be an enormous loss, because I don't think there's any doubt that he drives this entire ethos and organisation, and that is it's undoubtedly taken a toll on him and his family. So intriguing to see if this is what decision
time will tell.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Tom, thanks very much indeed. 6797 981 is our telephone number, and I want to run a Dublin Talks poll. And if you're from outside of Dublin, if you support a county other than Dublin, I'd also like to hear from you. And the question I'm asking is simple: should the Dublin team be split in two in order to perhaps give other teams a chance? I wouldn't be surprised if Dubs say no, but I'm interested to hear how people from outside of Dublin feel. So what I want you to do is text or WhatsApp yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. James, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, James?
Good morning, how are you doing?
James, as I said, this is something that has been talked about for years, as far back as 2002. What do you think of the idea of splitting Dublin in two?
No, I'll put it here this way. Since 1995, since 1985, in fact, we've only won 2 All-Irelands. Up until 2011, sorry, from 85 to 2011, 2 All-Irelands, a couple of finals.
From 83, was it not? Well, maybe, yeah.
Sorry, 83, sorry, yeah.
Until 1995, yeah.
85, yeah. And
then from 1995, we didn't win again until 2011.
Yes, and we've always had the biggest population. We've always had the biggest amount of funding.
But haven't always had the best team in the country.
No, and if we get the most amount of funding, we've no All-Ireland hurling titles.
So
just so happens that this bunch of incredibly talented men, this team, came along at this time. In the 70s, Kerry had it. Kilkenny had it in the hurling. and nobody wanted to split them in two.
Okay, so you find it a bit disingenuous for people now to be saying we need to split Dublin, we need to split Dublin.
Well, being honest, I think it's very hard. It's bad form to say it's money that wins All Ireland when these players are getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go training before work or going to college, and then training again in the evening, missing out on so much of their family life to put a jersey on to win an All Ireland.
Okay, so do you think this is sour grapes that people keep bringing this up?
Yeah, and it's been driven by Colin O'Rourke on the Sunday game. Week in, week out, he's on talking about Dublin should be split in two. I remember going to Dublin games, Adrian, when we couldn't even beat Kildare or Westmeath.
Correct,
or Longford.
yes.
You know, and we've always had the biggest population.
Okay, so it just so happens that we're on a roll at the moment. You obviously don't think maybe it'll last forever, but it's not going to last forever realistically. Maybe another couple of years. But when you see sides like the Kerry side, they really are. In the next couple of years, they're definitely going to be All Ireland winners, without a doubt.
They're a class act. Yeah. If you go around the capital in the late 80s and early 90s, every kid wanted to play soccer because your soccer team were doing well. And now that this Dublin team are doing well, the young boys and girls are coming along and saying, right, I want to play Gaelic football. So they go to their club.
Okay, so a bad idea. Adrian, you think this would cause murder?
Yeah, there's already a bit of rivalry. I know sometimes it's good banter, like north and south, but there'd be absolutely killings on the hill. Did you not see the argument that happened yesterday?
I did. That was Kerry.
On Saturday.
That was a group of Kerry young fellas and Dub supporters on the hill.
Yeah, being silly,
yeah.
And that's exactly what would happen if it was north and south.
Oh, really? You think that north side south side rivalry would lead to actual trouble in the on the hill?
Time. Yeah, I definitely believe that would happen. It would be awful. I just think that the rivalry would just get too much, and young people and stuff like that would be killing each other on the hill.
Oh, right, okay. So that's your big worry, that it would lead to violence on Hill 16?
Well, that wouldn't be the only issue. No, it's not our fault that we're brilliant at the moment, and we've had a good run. We're lucky at the moment. That's not going to last forever. And Kerry did 4 in a row. No one was talking about splitting them in half. So I just don't... Then do we split the girls in half? I just don't get it.
Okay, stay there for a second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Keep your votes coming in. We're asking, should Dublin be split in two in order to stop the dominance of Dublin county footballers in particular? Some GAA commentators have said the whole idea is that Dublin should be forced to field two different teams. And we're asking whether or not this is a good idea or a bad idea. Stephen on WhatsApp voice note isn't impressed.
Adrian, this is a bit of a joke, splitting the two teams. It'll end up being Dublin North about Dublin South every year. And then people will be saying, Dublin are too good. What will they do? Just throw us out of the championship now because the others can't compete? It's up to them to step up now.
Okay, and Robbie, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Robbie.
Morning, Adrian.
Well, Robbie, you think this is just jealousy?
It's just sort of jealousy, and it's the child's attitude as well. It's like the child's attitude is to say, that's not fair. They win it. It's not fair. Do you know what I mean? Why would you split up a county that's after winning 5 in a row? That's never been done before. Just be happy for them. Do you know what I mean? It's 2 days after the final, and people all they're talking about is splitting up. Whereas they didn't split up the great Kilkenny teams that the past that won the Liam McCarthy Cup year in, year out. They didn't split up the Kerry team that won 4 in a row. Do you know what I mean?
No, but we're not just talking about 5 in a row. We're actually talking about 7 out of 9 years Dublin having won. That's
7 out of 9 years because they're the most committed county. They're the best players. You don't look at all other sports and say, well, hang on for a minute. There's someone dominating tennis. Let's do something about this. You just leave it as it is, and it's for the rest of the counties to step up or show up. As simple as that.
So as far as you're concerned, this run of good luck, well, it's not just good luck, it's been good playing as well, that Dublin have experienced since 2011 should be praised rather than criticised, because in some quarters it's been criticised.
Every single county in Ireland to look at the lads and what they're doing day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, and just praise them. Stop talking about splitting a county up, because I think 2 or 3 people have already said it. If that was to happen, if you just Dublin North against Dublin South in every point, simple as that.
So then other teams wouldn't get a look in at all.
Just create 2 great teams instead of 1. Do you know what I mean?
All right, and listening to the lineup of the teams, if they were to be split, they're still two fairly incredible teams.
I don't know, like, do you know what I mean? 5 All-Irelands in a row, the only thing that could be said is, split them up.
All right, another listener says this is absolute
What do
nonsense.
you want to split the team in two for? They didn't split the Kerry team in 2 years ago. Sure, they've got more All-Irelands than Dublin anyway. They've 37, we've only 29. So that's the case, go down and split them up. It's only all the cultures that's given out about it because they're terrified. They weren't saying anything when Tyrone and Kerry were dominating for years. They forget we didn't win a title from 95 till 2011. Well, now we win a few titles and it's all split the Dubs in half. Just that's nonsense. It's nonsense. I hope we win another 10 now. Come on, the Dubs.
Hope we win another 10 now. We're going to take a quick break, and after the break, some people not at all happy that the homecoming for the Dublin teams, ladies and gents, isn't taking place until Sunday week. And we'll all have forgotten about it. I'm going to talk to our Lord Mayor straight after the break to find out why it is so far in the future. But let me just play a WhatsApp voice note from Wes.
Adrian, I have a question there for people. What if Dublin was split into two teams and the two teams were in the final every year? Then you'd still have people giving out. So you can't really win. I think it's ridiculous splitting up the two teams. Like was mentioned there already, other counties have to raise their game if they want to compete with Dublin. Dublin are the benchmark. Other counties have to raise their game. Simple as.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll find out about that homecoming celebration straight after the break.
98FM's Dublin Talks with QuoteDevil.ie, car and van insurance specialists for difficult to insure cases.
98FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. I know overwhelmingly in answer to our question, and as I said, I wanted to hear from people from outside Dublin as well. No is the answer. In answer to my question, should Dublin be split in two in order to give other counties a chance? And I think an awful lot of you do believe that ultimately, especially when you listen to the lineup of potential Dublin North and Dublin South teams, they'll probably end up in the All-Ireland final. And then you won't have Tyrone or Mayo or Donegal or anybody else making it into the final because it'll be just the two Dublins. Anyhow, that's that conversation. Just before the programme today, as you will know, the homecoming for the Dublin teams, ladies and gentlemen, will take place on Sunday week, the 29th of September. This message came into the programme just before the show today.
It's a message for the Adrian Kennedy show. I'm absolutely fuming that the celebrations aren't until the 29th of September. Like, who come up with that 2 weeks after the final? Every year, we have the advantage here in Dublin, of course, that me and the kids, we always flew into Smithfield and we always had a great time, and now we have to wait 2 weeks. So the whole occasion's over, it's gone. We've moved on, we're looking forward to next year. Stupid idea.
Okay, now, who better to ask about this than Dublin's Lord Mayor, Paul McAuliffe, who joins me on the line. Paul, welcome to 98FM.
Yeah, good morning, Adrian. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Paul. Now, okay, that message came into our programme just before we started today, and he wouldn't be the first person I've heard to say, really? The homecoming 2 weeks away?
Yeah, it was probably my first response as well, Adrian. But I suppose that the way things have panned out wasn't as was planned. It wasn't planned by Jim Gavin, wasn't planned by the players. And the fact that we have a victory, I suppose, and the fact that it took us 2 matches shows really how special it is what has happened. But the replay was a factor in all of the timings. And this homecoming is for the team. It's for the team for us to show them how important they are and what they've done and how special it is.
And is it a homecoming for both the ladies and for the men?
Absolutely, I was determined from the very beginning to have for both of them to be treated equally. It sort of it fell well in that the replay brought the two games on the one weekend, so that was really made a really special weekend. And now we have a great weekend planned on the 29th of September.
Why is it so far away, Paul? Why have we to wait another 2 weeks? As you heard from that message, should we be over it by then?
Well, I suppose we might be ready to keep partying, but in the end of the day, this is a homecoming for the teams, and these guys have been giving up months and months for their sport, for all of our enjoyment, and obviously they had time booked away. They had different commitments after the game, and so we consulted fully both with the Dublin County Board and with the Lady Gaelic Football Association, and this is the date. This is the date that came back, and I'm delighted to be able to do it on that day. Obviously, having it the next day has its advantages, but also,
because it is kind of the here and now. It's the continue the celebrations, and as you heard from that man, Smithfield has been traditionally where it's been a day or two after the victory. That's certainly been the case in the last few years, but this year it's a joint celebration. And what you're saying is that because of the replay, people had holidays booked, everything else, and the 29th of September is the only day that really suits everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that this is a player-centred homecoming, and it's a way for us as the fans to show them what we think of them. And I suppose that was my underlying feeling from the very beginning, and I was determined to treat the ladies and the men's equally as well. You could easily have had a small civic reception for the ladies, as happened on other years. I wasn't going to let that happen. This was historic both for the men and the ladies, and so it was important that we have it together. And as I say, I think it is an opportunity now for us to plan a really amazing day. We've 2 weeks to plan the best party that Dublin has ever had.
Right. Okay. So that's what is planned here. It's to make it's an extra special event for the ladies who won 3 in a row yesterday, but also to celebrate the lads and their 5 in a row. So it's a joint celebration.
Yeah, so let me go through some of the details, Adrian, as they are at the moment anyway. So on Sunday the 29th, so it's unusual, it'll be on a Sunday rather than on a work day. And we hope that will mean that families will come into town. It's going to be a family-friendly event. We hope to have lots of things for them to do. We're going to have entertainment, DJs. It'll be in Merrion Square with hopefully the sun splitting the pepper canister behind us. And we have all 4 arms of the junction will be open, and I think it's going to be a great day. And actually, we hope that we will be able to put on some great entertainment. I might need a few favours from some of Dublin's greatest entertainment fans on that one. But I think it's going to be a good day, and we have an opportunity to plan that for the lads to relax a little bit for a day or two. These are lads with 4 legs, and I think they deserve a day or two off to relax and to enjoy.
Okay, so as regards the criticism that it's so far away, the buzz will have died down, your argument is, well, actually, we'll recreate the buzz.
Yeah, but I don't know how anyone could say. I walked out of Croke Park. We strolled down towards the 5 lamps to switch on the 5th lamp on Saturday. I don't know how anyone can say that the buzz is going to die down. This is something not for any one year. This is a historic victory, 5 in a row. Like, it's just unprecedented. That hasn't been done by any other Gaelic football.
I know, but the argument from a lot of people is by the week after next, it's all forgotten about, Paul.
Well, I think real Dublin fans will never forget what happened at the weekend. I think that people who've been attending matches, people who love Dublin, will never forget what's happened. And I think it's going to be a great event.
Okay, Bernie, you just wanted to get in with a quick comment. What did you want to say, Bernie?
Yes, Paul. Why wasn't it taken to the Phoenix Park for next Sunday? Why do we have to wait? I must have taken down my banners and everything. For God's sake, what are you doing now?
You'll have to bring your banners in and show me, Bernie. We looked at loads of venues, and obviously you have to look at the different venues. I wasn't inclined to do it in the Phoenix Park because I think it's too far outside the city, and we want to have this right in the heart of the city.
No, the buses run up to the Phoenix Park, Paul. What's wrong with you?
I'm an outsider.
Sorry, go on, Paul.
I'm an outsider, but having it in Merrion Square means we'll be able to facilitate people.
Paul, you'll be all right. I don't know.
So, Bernie,
are you coming, Bernie?
Merrion Square, I don't know. I live in Drimna here, but the Phoenix Park would have been ideal. I mean, the soccer teams, Paul, came back to the Phoenix Park. We were up there for them all. You know.
Yeah, well, this is a Dublin team. We want it right in the heart of Dublin.
Are you doing a bus through the city, an open air bus?
We have done it. We have done it in previous years, and I don't want to give any of the details away yet, Penny. As I say, we want to plan it up in the next 2 weeks. There will be a bus element.
Okay, all right. So anyway, the event, even though it's a little bit into the future, Sunday week, the 29th of September, the homecoming for the men celebrating 5 in a row and the ladies celebrating 3 in a row will be a joint celebration, Merrion Square, on the 29th.
And Bernie and her bonnet as well, ladies.
All right, Dublin Lord Mayor, Councillor Paul McAuliffe, thanks very much indeed for joining us. There you go. It's years away, but that is when the homecoming celebration for the Dublin teams, ladies and gentlemen, will take place Sunday week here in Dublin at Merrion Square. And yeah, maybe we can recreate the high pick bit again on Sunday week. Or I'll be over it by then. You're listening to 98FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. We're with you until midday today. Now, on the way after the break, a heartbreaking plea from a mother whose son was murdered 2.5 years ago, begging for information about who killed her son. We'll hear that story straight after the break.
98FM's Dublin Talks with QuoteDevil.ie. Insurance specialists if you've open claims or too many penalty points.
98FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Hope everything is good with you. And once again, I know a lot of people are texting and it's very far away and everything else, but it is what it is. The homecoming for the Dublin teams takes place on Sunday week, September 29th, at Merrion Square. So it's to celebrate the ladies and the men in their amazing achievements. So it's more for the ladies. Actually, it's a good thing because they would normally get kind of a civic reception in Dublin Castle or something like that. This is going to be in front of a huge crowd. It'll be a monstrous crowd, we hope. Anyway, Sunday week, September 29th at Merrion Square. Now, next on the programme, a Dublin mother has renewed her appeal for someone to come forward with information relating to her son's death, with new reward posters being put up around the Tala area as part of their latest campaign for justice. Back in 2017, 31-year-old Stephen Lynch was murdered after a car ploughed into him at Brookview Close in Tala. We're going to find out exactly what happened that day and hear from his mother, Vera, appealing to people to come forward with any information they have. 2.5 years later, the DPP has been unable to proceed with the prosecution due to lack of evidence, basically, even though a lot of people witnessed exactly what happened. Vera joins me on the line. Vera Donovan is her name, to tell me a little bit more about this story. And Vera, can I firstly ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to bring us back to that incident nearly 2.5 years ago in 2017?
He was coming down to visit me. I had spoken to him earlier on the phone. And he cut through, there's a shortcut, basically. And he cut through Brookview Close on his way down. And there was a car there. There was obviously people in it, and I can't say anything about that. And there was other people there with those. Also, everybody, I won't say everybody, but there was a lot of people on the street because the weather was amazing. It was sunny, it was hot, even for April, you know. They were revving the car and stuff and shouting and whatever they were doing. And Stephen said, lads, sorry, he says, leave it out, you're going to hurt somebody. There's kids flying on the road. We told him, from what I gathered, to mind his own business, words to that effect, which I won't say. Wasn't that polite, put it that way. And so he walked away. And they got into the car, revved the car and drove over him. And in their bid to get away, they reversed the car, but he was wondrous, so it wouldn't reverse. And they jumped out when they ran.
And all he had done was told these guys to be careful, there's kids around.
You're going to hurt somebody.
Yes, yeah. and spoke his mind like an awful lot of other people would. And their reaction was to literally run him over.
Yeah. And I brought Stephen and all my kids up. Just if you can help somebody, then help them. I really wish I hadn't done that now, because if he didn't mind it, his business, like people tend to be doing now and saying nothing, he'd still be here.
Now, your big thing is that a lot of people were around. A lot of people will have seen who was driving the car. A lot of people have information on whoever it was who killed your son. But nobody is coming forward with information.
No.
As a result of which the DPP hasn't been able to proceed with the prosecution.
No, which really makes me very angry, to be honest with you. I don't understand why all the people in the car weren't prosecuted, but there's nothing I can do about that now. They've made their choice. But those people saw, and believe me, when I tell you, Adrian, I was up there within a couple of minutes, because it's only literally maybe a minute's drive away from where I live. And I'll never forget what I saw. And they saw it as it happened, and I didn't. But I can't sleep at night. I can't ever, ever get that image out of my head. And then I had to go over and identify, let me just say, what was left of his body. I just couldn't stand there and see somebody's child murdered in front of me face and say nothing. I don't know how they're doing it.
Why do you think people have been so reluctant to come forward with information?
You see, that I don't know, because I can only speak for myself when I say I would 100%, I couldn't live with that. I would have to say something. But they're just not. And people are saying, oh, maybe they're afraid. Like, I'd be more afraid to live with what I saw than to ring an anonymous hotline and just tell the truth.
So somebody, as far as you're concerned, knows exactly who it was who murdered your son?
A lot of people know. A lot of people. Everybody there saw everything. And these are people, like, they live a minute away from us. Stephen would have went to school with them. My other kids would have went to school with all of them, you know, their children. Stephen was a great, lovely, happy fella. And I can't find anyone say a bad word about him, to be honest. People are appalled, and I will say 90% of the people in Tala have been unbelievably supportive. And I do hate the name that Tala gets for all this and that. It's a great place to live. But, as I said, 90% of the people are amazing, man.
And Vera, let me ask you, have you personally spoken to people who witnessed the crime?
On the night we did. And they were telling us everything that happened, but once the guards asked them, they wouldn't say them. So, I just don't understand it. And I'll never understand any of this, but just to see what they saw, it's incredible to me that they can't say anything. I mean, as I've said over and over again, I don't want any revenge. I just want closure. I want a bit of peace of mind. I want somebody held accountable for callously killing my child and taking away 3 children's father, my son, my other children's brother, and he had only become an uncle for the first time because the only one of them the only one of my kids that had children at the time was Stephen, and my daughter had a child, and he was besotted at being an uncle, and that child just, like, it's horrendous. He keeps asking me where he is and asking why we can't get a rocket and go to the sky and bring him home.
Oh my God. He's left a huge hole in your family.
Oh, massive. He was just so funny, and he was a big child, is how I'd describe him. He's always out playing football with the kids and constantly asked me, "Ma, don't I look all right for 31? I don't look 31. I think he had this thing about getting older. But he was always looking for approval, you know.
Now,
he was just quite childish himself, you know.
One of the reasons that we're talking to you today is in a bid to beg people to come forward with information. You've launched a poster campaign, basically Crime Stoppers appeal for information on fatal hit and run.
Yeah.
It gives the phone number for Crime Stoppers, which is 1800 25 0025. How does that work in terms of if somebody listening now saw what happened, can they give information confidentially?
Absolutely. It's a confidential number. You can ring. You don't even have to give your name and just tell the guards what you saw, who you saw. Basically, I wasn't there when it happened, so obviously I can't do anything about it. But I was there a couple of minutes later. And it really is beyond me, Adrian, how they can, how they can have seen that and said nothing at all. Because it's the single most horrific thing I've ever saw in my life. I mean, that was my baby, left at the side of the road like a dog. Just left her. They left the car on top of him.
And I know anybody listening to us now who has a heart can understand how you want to see somebody being brought to justice for killing your child, and that's why you've launched this poster campaign.
Exactly. And can I just say, some of the people on that road, Brookview Close, they took the car off him. They tried to help. You know, I'm not saying everybody up there, you know, they did nothing, because some of them did, because the car was off him when I got there. And there was one lady, I can't remember her name, I'm sorry, but she tried, you know, she was looking for a pulse, and well, I have spoken to her since. But he was fine. He was, you know, there wasn't a hope in hell. He was coming back from that.
All right. Once again, for anybody who might have any information about this horrific murder, because that's what it was, they can call Crime Stoppers confidentially on 1800 25 0025, and even vague information may be of help, because I mean, we need to get somebody properly prosecuted for this.
Well, that's it. If people might think it doesn't really, that might not matter what I saw, but that could be the one thing that will give us a bit of peace. You know, I mean, this is never changing for us. Stephen's gone and he's never coming back. But for somebody to be held accountable and for him not to have died and somebody just walked away from it, that would make, maybe I could take a step forward, because right now I'm just stuck. We're all stuck. Like, we used to be just a normal family, and now we all just do our own thing. We barely talk to each other, you know, without it coming back to Stephen. Because he was like the heart and soul of my family. He's my firstborn child. And to see your firstborn child on the ground like that, it's beyond horrific. I wouldn't wish it on literally anybody.
It is an horrific story. Vera, I hope that your new campaign with the posters and with talking to us and with doing interviews with the newspaper helps in somebody coming forward. And once again, the number for Crime Stoppers, if you have any information at all on the murder of Stephen Lynch back in April 2017, please call 1800 25 0025. Vera, I really appreciate your time. I know it's very difficult for you to talk about. Even 2.5 years later, it has to be extremely difficult to talk about. But I appreciate you talking to us, and hopefully this will help in some way.
Thanks very much, Adrian.
98FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
Sad story, it really is. If you've any help that you can offer in order to... There is somebody listening to us now who could possibly know who was driving that car or who was in that car that killed Stephen Lynch back in 2017. The Crime Stoppers number, once again, is 1800 25 0025. 1800 25 0025. Now, next on the programme, how difficult is it being a single parent today? Apart from the financial aspect of trying to keep your head above water, how difficult is it trying to juggle being a single parent and having a job? If you're a single parent who also has a career, we want to hear from you, about the struggles that you face trying to make everything work out. And do you think that employers should be more flexible and lenient when it comes to employees who are lone parents? Well, we were contacted last Friday by a listener who is a lone parent and wanted to highlight the struggles of trying to raise 2 children and keep down a job. She's having some issues with her employer at the moment in regards to getting time off to be a mother. Have a listen to this from Abby. Is there any chance you can highlight this on your show sometime? How difficult it can be being a lone parent and working. I've 2 children aged 7 and 10. I also work full time. Women are encouraged to work, and there is a perception that lone parents don't want to work and just claim allowances. Well, that is not me. However, I think employers need to be more flexible to our needs and struggles. I won't mention where I work, but I work for a recruitment company. My hours have always been 8:30 until 3 p.m, and that was fine. There was 2 of us because their father worked nights and could pick them up from school. Since becoming single in June, this is now a huge problem. I've asked my job, can they change my hours to 9:30 to 2:30? I said I would take a pay cut so I could drop them and pick them up from school, and they have said it's not possible, even though it could be easily done. My mother is doing the school's runs since they started back, and this makes me feel useless as a mother. I'm seriously considering leaving the workforce over this. Can you find out how single mums cope with this? Am I working for the wrong company that won't accommodate me? 6797981 is our telephone number. Now, the one thing she doesn't say, and we have written back to her, the one thing that Abby didn't say is she says she's since becoming single last June, which is June of last year, where the father has disappeared to. She doesn't actually say where he's disappeared to. Anyway, maybe if she's listening, maybe Abby, you could let us know what exactly has happened to the father, that you're literally left on your own carrying this burden. We want to hear about the daily struggles of lone parents. I mean, it's a struggle enough to bring up children. Bringing them up on your own is an even bigger struggle, but also keeping down a job while raising kids on your own has to be really difficult. Here's a message that's just been sent in to us on WhatsApp voice note.
Hi, Adrian. I want to say anonymous, but early in the year I suffered major burnout due to my lack of work-life balance. When I was recommended by their occupational health doctor to switch to part-time hours, my boss still refused because it would affect his head count. Now, if that isn't ridiculous, I don't know what is. Married people suffer too, as well as lone parents. Thanks.
Okay, I'd like to hear from you on 6797981. Jason, I'm going to talk to you straight after the break, but you believe it is not down to employers to sort this problem out for people?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, stay there. I'll be with you straight after the break.
98.
It's 11 o'clock across Dublin. Good morning. This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. And this is Trish with Monday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Women who took part in an independent review of smear tests will learn the results from today. More than 1,000 women who developed cervical cancer agreed to take part in the process. Supports have been set up for the women taking part in the review. A homecoming celebration for Dublin's footballers will take place on September 29th. The event will take place at Marion Square from 1:30 in the afternoon to 4:30. There have been calls for the 5 lamps on Amiens Street to be kept blue for the next year, following the historic 5 in a row and 3 in a row for the women's team. Irish Rail has received several reports of drug activity on the Dublin-Cork line. In total, the company got 105 complaints of antisocial behaviour on the route since January 2018. They include Houston Station being a hub for drug dealing and passengers being high. And it's been announced that Westlife are playing Páirc Uí Chaoimh in Cork next year on Friday the 20th of August. Tickets for the gig go on sale this Friday. And now you're up to date on 98.
98FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797981.
Now, I want to have a conversation about the difficulties holding down a job while you are a lone parent. For some, it's just not possible. For some, they have to pack in their job because of just the pressures. And you already heard that WhatsApp message there a couple of moments ago from a lady saying this isn't just a problem. Work flexibility isn't just a problem for lone parents. It's a problem for married parents as well. But it has to be doubly difficult when it is a lone parent who's struggling to bring up the children by herself or himself, as it happens to be. Now, Jason, you are a lone parent, is that right?
Yeah. Okay.
And you believe that it isn't the responsibility of employers to do more?
No, I don't see why it should be. See, when I started with the company I'm with, I work 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I wasn't a lone parent when I started with them, because I'm with them like nearly 9, 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But I became a lone parent 7 years ago. And basically, why should the company have to change anything just because my circumstances changed? They could just hire someone that can do my job. Do you know what I mean? It's up to me to still be able to do my job so that they'll keep me on, so that I can support my son and look after him and give him everything he needs. You know, so that's the way I look at it. I don't see why the company should change their situation just to suit me.
Now, she says in her message that since becoming a lone parent herself over a year ago, in June of last year, no, I don't know what's happened to the father. We're hoping she's listening and can let us know. But she seems to be coping all by herself. And she's asked her job to change her hours to 9:30 to 2:30, where she was working 8:30 to 3:00. She says it will be easy for them to do. They're saying no.
So she's looking to do less hours, you see?
You know, she said she would take a pay cut as well.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't accommodate that then.
Yeah, and they've said no.
I don't see why they shouldn't. But I don't know. I mean, requesting to go part-time, they just want someone to do those hours. So maybe it's a demanding type of job that they need someone to do those hours.
Yeah, she says she works with a recruitment company. Now, I don't know which one, but they're fairly pressurised jobs, I should imagine. And they need her to do the full 8:30 to 3:00 hours.
Yeah, well, but it's not up to the company to... I just don't believe it's up to the company to restructure because of that. I mean, I'm in work now. And I'm kind of lucky in a way that I drive around. So I'm driving around, say, I could be in Dublin, I could be in Newbridge, I could be in Ashbourne, anywhere, all around. But I have to go back to my youngster's school at 2:30 today and collect them, you know. And sometimes I can't make it. I'll ring one of the children in his class, her mother. Sometimes I'll ring her and I say, will you just grab him there and I'll collect him from your house. You know, I could be half an hour late or something, but it's a struggle and it's pressure every single day. So I understand where she's coming from, and that's like, and I'm like, she's lucky, or I'm lucky, because like she's 2 kids, I've only 1.
Okay,
you know what I
mean? So the point being that you have to find a workaround, and it's not up to your employer to do that for you. It's not up to your employer to give you hours that suit you. It's up to you to decide whether or not you want the job or not. Really?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, but stay there for 1 second. Let me read a message that's just come into us, and it says, I'm a single mother for 3.5 years. It's very difficult to juggle everything. I have an amazing friend who helps in the morning and a childminder in the afternoon. I had to go back full time to work as I bought my ex out of the house and gave him my shares in our business. I have a mortgage to pay on my own. Life would be so much easier if my ex would let me live in the house I now own and stop bad-mouthing me to my neighbours. I'm shattered all the time doing everything. My employer is very helpful, thank God. Now, Katie, you are a lone parent as well, is that right?
Yeah.
To an 11-year-old.
Uh-huh.
And what did you want to say on this?
No, and I'm working in the same job the last 14 years. And it is hard, it is a struggle. I've never been with his father, you know what I mean? But it doesn't stop you from doing anything, you know what I mean? If you just have to get up and get on with it every day.
And okay, this lady is asking for a change in her hours in order to make it easier for her to drop her child to school and collect her child and whatever. She says she doesn't feel like a proper mother, not being able to be there for at least one of them. Does she not have a point? Should employers not kind of help?
Well, if the employer wants you to work for them and they need the job done, well, then they'll suit around you, like, as well as you having to get in and do the job that they want. Like, because I know if I have a hospital appointment or anything that I need to go to with my young client, like, I have that little bit of leeway where you make up your hours if you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, it is hard.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. It has to be difficult anyway.
Yeah, it is 100%, because you're constantly on demand with having to look after a child and having to work, because you have to work in this life because you don't get nothing for nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, in fact, Shelley, stay there for a second, Katie, because Shelley sent us a WhatsApp voice note, and she thinks Abby is just looking for excuses not to work.
She's not a lone parent, she's a single parent. Just because she split up with a father doesn't mean they don't have one. She didn't drop the kids to school while they were together, he did. So why does she suddenly feel like a failure because she can't? I send my son to a morning club. It's €5 a day, and if she's willing to take a pay cut in work, it would cost way more than €25 a week. Sounds to me like she wants to give up work and claim social welfare.
I don't know if it's that simple. Mind you, a number of people are texting in to say exactly that. So, Katie, your point is that you can do it. It's just difficult.
Yeah, no, it is very hard because you have to look for people to take him. And I'm just blessed with a good family, and then his father is also very good, where if I'm in work so early, then he'll take him overnight the night before so I can go to work, and then I drop him to my mum then at 7 o'clock because I was like to start at 7:30. So it is difficult, but there's ways and means around things.
And the notion, you've never contemplated, claiming lone parents allowance or anything like that?
No.
Never?
No, it's more beneficial for me to work than it would be to sit at home, because I'd be bored, because I'm working in the job longer than as long as how old my young fella is. Like, he's 11 and I'm 14 years in my place. So it never came in as an option, like, never.
All right, stay there for 1 second.
It's nice to teach him.
Yeah, that work is what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay, stay there for 1 second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Maybe you're somebody who had to pack in work because it was just so difficult as a lone parent. And that in the end of the day, it was easier for you to stay at home rather than the complications of trying to arrange everything for when you're at work. Grania, you are a single parent of twins.
I am. They're 5.
They're 5, okay. So have they just started school?
Yeah, no, they started last year.
Oh, they started last year, okay. And tell me about the practical difficulties that you have.
Well, to be honest with you, it is very hard. I do work full-time. I work as a carer. So I'm lucky in my job that I don't start till 9 o'clock. So I drop my kids to school at 20 to 9. I'm at my first call for 9. And then they get collected from after school. And then they're in after school then till 5. So I work till 5. And then I collect them then at 5.
Right, okay.
And then I go home, get the dinner, clean up the house, blah, blah, blah. It is very hard. At the minute, I have a full load of ironing to be done that I haven't got a chance to do in over a week. So it is hard. It is really hard. But I think if you get the job that suits your lifestyle, well then, yeah, you're plain sailing.
Okay, so you have a job that... well, you've had to work around your job as well in terms of after school and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have to get them into after school because I couldn't survive literally working from 9 to 1 because my kids finished school at 20 past 1.
Okay, so that's not an option. The part-time work isn't an option for you at all?
No. I couldn't survive on that, no.
Okay, so full-time work is what you have to do. Did you ever contemplate staying at home?
I did for the first year that they were born because I wanted to kind of have that bond. I've been on my own with them since day one. I did at first because I wanted to have the bond, the first year bond. And then after that, I think there were 14 months and I went to work. 15 months and I went to work.
And haven't looked back since?
No.
Okay. But leaving, I mean, it's one thing leaving one, leaving two has to have been extra difficult.
Oh, it really was. Because thank God I have, my mum really, really helped me out through a lot of it. But Mom's getting on as well, so that's why I kind of had to bring the after school into it and just pay for that instead, if you get what I mean. So it's just kind of, it is hard, it is tough going, and there's days like come Friday, like I'm literally falling into my bed. Weekends, drink, that's gone. I don't do any of that. I don't have a life.
And what do you make of a message that we just got a second ago from an employer who didn't want to be named, but the employer basically said, we interviewed somebody for a full-time job last week, and before the end of the interview she was dictating to us the hours that she wanted to work because she's a lone parent. What do you make of that?
Well, see, like, I think it's give and take. See, I used to work for I've worked for three different companies in the last 5 years. But I think it's the company that you go to. When I started with this job, I said, look, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, that's all I can offer you. And because it's a caring and I'm out caring, it's easier with my hours because they are more flexible. But I think in office-based jobs, no, it is a lot harder because they all run off different times. And like, especially if it's a company like where there's freight involved and stuff like that. Like, you're getting calls from America like at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. So if you're supposed to be at your phone at 7:30, I understand where the employer's coming from there. But if you're not happy in that situation and you think, just change jobs then.
Yeah, so this woman...
I don't believe the employer should suit you. I believe that...
Yeah, and that's exactly what that guy said, that this woman turned up for a job interview last week, and before the end of the interview, she was dictating to them the hours that she'd work.
No. Well, I can't really... When I went for my interview with the company I went now, I did say to them, look, I can only do Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I said, if that's not okay, then look, I'll just look elsewhere. And they were like, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Just no problem.
Okay, so they were very understanding and don't ask you to work extra past 5 o'clock or anything.
Every now and again they try, but I'm like, I have no babysitter and I'm not paying for a babysitter. It's not worth my while.
And that's the end of that. All right, stay there for 1 second, Grania. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. We're talking about the practical difficulties of holding down a job while you are a lone parent. And Abby is the lady who contacted us. She says, as being a lone parent, women are encouraged to work, and there is a perception that lone parents don't want to work and just claim allowances. Well, that is not me. However, I think employers need to be more flexible to our needs and struggles. She says, my hours have always been 8:30 until 3 o'clock, and that was fine when there was two of us. Until Daddy shagged off somewhere. Don't know quite where he went, but anyway. She became single in June of last year, and this is now a problem. I've asked my job, can they change my hours to 9:30 to 2:30, and would even take a pay cut, and was basically told no. And she thinks employers should be more flexible. Where am I going now? I'm going to Carol. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Carol?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. What did you want to say on this?
I just think that married women as well have the same struggles. Like, it's not just lone parents. I know it's probably harder for them, but you know, when we're in full-time work as well, and my husband would work away. So I'm on my own with 2 children during the week. I'm trying to hold down a full-time job and look after the house as well, and there's no leeway with work either, no flexibility. And
what sort of flexibility would you look for, or would you like?
Well, it's just sometimes you might have to go to something, or sometimes the kids are out sick and you have to take a day's holiday, or you have to drop everything and go to the hospital, and they're not very happy. So,
right, okay, so they don't play ball with you, basically.
Well, they're not too bad, but some places now, I can't say.
What did you make of that message that I read out a couple of minutes ago, that an employer who had a woman in for a job interview last week, and she ended up dictating to them the hours that she'd work?
Oh, I don't know. I think, you know, she probably just wanted to tell them in the interview before it went any further what her situation was.
Yeah, but I mean, they were looking for a full-time member of staff, and she was saying, well, no, I can't work this day, and I can't work that day, and I can't come in till that time, and whatever. That kind of makes her very unsellable, doesn't it?
Unavailable, really. Yeah. I would think that if I was interviewing her as well, I would.
So what's the number one difficulty, Carol, as somebody who is married, and as you said, your partner's away working a lot? What's the number one problem you have?
It's flexibility. Not being able to even have one day to collect the kids, or one day to bring them into school, just one morning a week, or one evening, where you can go and collect them from school. Can't do that. You're missing out on that.
And that's more or less what Abby said in her message. She says, my mother does the school runs since they started back, and this makes me feel like a useless mother.
It does sometimes, yeah.
But you can't have it both ways, really, can you?
You have to pay the bills and the mortgage. Yeah.
All right, good to talk to you, Carol. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. We're talking about the difficulties of holding down a job whilst you are a lone parent. And, I mean, it is difficult for parents anyhow, when you are back to work after maternity leave or paternity leave and whatever, and juggling the whole thing. But it strikes me that it has to be even more difficult for a lone parent, particularly if you don't have a huge amount of family support around you. Now, imagine not being able to read a bedtime story to your child. We'll be hearing from one woman straight after the break who has to work nights to make ends meet.
98FM's Dublin Talks with QuoteDevil.ie, car and van insurance specialists for difficult to insure cases.
98FM.
This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks. We're talking about, the difficulties faced by lone parents, and actually not just lone parents as it happens. All parents trying to juggle work and looking after kids and everything else. Anyway, Abby has been a lone parent since last summer, since June of last year. And she is saying that employers need to be more flexible to our needs and struggles. She's always worked 8:30 to 3:00. But now, as a lone parent, she's finding that very difficult. I asked my job, can they change my hours to 9:30 to 2:30 so I could drop them and pick them up from school? And they have said it's not possible, even though it could be easily done. My mother is doing the school run since they started back, and this makes me feel useless as a mother. I'm seriously considering leaving the workforce over this. She believes it is an employer's responsibility to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to lone parents. Now, Caroline, you're on 98FM. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Adrian.
Now, Caroline, a lone parent of 3 boys.
Yeah.
And how do you cope? You work very odd hours.
Yeah, I work nights. So, like that, I was married up to 3 years ago. And he used to drop them to school.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all gone with now.
Gone isn't in that he's disappeared?
He just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Oh, right.
So, like that, my mother is helping me out. But I have to say, my manager is brilliant, my employer.
So what hours do you now work?
So I go in the morning at 11 and I finish the next day at 12. So I do sleepovers.
Oh, right. So it's kind of residential work, is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you go in at 11 in the morning?
Yeah, till 12 the next day.
So 24 hours practically?
Yeah. So what I have to do now is I have to come out of work at 2 o'clock every day, which my manager lets me. Collect my kids, drop them home, go back to work, come back the next morning to collect them, bring them to school and go back into work.
And who stays with them then at night?
My mum.
Your mum?
Yeah.
So without her, you just wouldn't be working this job?
I wouldn't be working. I'd have to give up work.
And
like, I've been looking at all the comments on your page, and people have a very low opinion of lone parents, I have to say.
They do, and this is
very low.
This is the point that Abby mentioned in the first place, because she says that I work full time. Women are encouraged to work. There's a perception that lone parents don't want to work and just claim allowances. Well, that's not me. And that's not you either, Caroline.
Oh, God, no. I'm in my job 20 years now, Adrian. I wouldn't leave it now. But if I hadn't got my mother, I'd have to leave.
Now, you're saying that your employer does give you a bit of leeway to...
Oh, he's just fantastic.
Well, that's
and
great to
I
hear.
don't know why her employer, if he valued her that much, like, and if she's good at her job, why couldn't it? It's only a little bit of leeway when you think about it.
Yeah, she was working 8:30 to 3.
Yeah, it's
and
not
now she
much,
wants to
like.
change those hours to 9:30 to 2:30.
Yeah.
In order to allow her to do the school run and everything else and be there, and they've said no. Now, a lot of people are saying it is not an employer's responsibility.
No, it's not. But as I said, if your employer valued your work and you were good at your job, to go through all that, interview someone else, get rid of her, interview someone, what's it, half an hour she's looking for? And if she in the job long, I don't know. It didn't say.
It doesn't say whether she's been in it long or not. And, and by the way, she just contacted us because one of the questions that I was asking earlier on is what happened to Daddy. She split up last June. He's moved to London. So...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so she doesn't have any support from him at all.
No, neither do I, I don't either. But as I said, if my employer didn't let me do what I was doing, or what I am doing, I'd have to give up work.
Okay, but stay there for a moment because, Paul, you're a little bit annoyed by this conversation. Why?
Very annoyed, Adrian. It's ridiculous. Get on with it. It's a thing called life. We all have to do it. It's not different for certain people. Do you know what I mean?
But shouldn't an employer be a little bit more understanding towards somebody who is a lone parent, who's struggling to do it all, him or herself?
If you go for an interview for a job, Adrian, it's not called jobs with kids. It's called a job. It's simple as that. If you can't survive working a job and looking after kids, you walk around it. I have 3 kids. I work full time. My missus work full time. My kids are 4, 6 and 8. And we quickly realised that we had to change something. She went part-time. She got a different job, went part-time. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous, do you know what I mean? Looking for your...
But your wife had the option of doing that. And you're full-time. I wouldn't have an option. If I was full-time, I wouldn't have an option of going part-time then. Because there's not another wage coming into my house. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that the struggle is any different for me than it is for you, Paul. I'm not saying that. But it is a lot harder when you're on your own.
I don't think it's lone parents at all. If you can't walk, you can't walk. But if you want to have a certain lifestyle
where you want to walk, then you walk. I want to walk.
Yeah, fair play.
You know what I mean? But what she's saying is, if the employer can't help her out, in an hour for an hour, an hour's not a big difference.
A bad parent, she feels like she's letting herself
down. Well, that's ridiculous.
Paul, let me ask you this. This lady in her message to us said, I think employers need to be more flexible. She was working 8:30 to 3. She now wants to work 9:30 to 2:30. So she'll be able to do this.
Does she want a job to set up a creche inside the job as well for her?
She's asking for an hour, Paul. What is the big deal?
She's asking for an hour or she's asking a half an hour. She has an employer that needs her to do a job. If she's not capable of doing that job, well, I'm sorry, the employer goes...
She is capable of doing it. She does
she's
do it.
She's obviously not capable of doing it.
Say if you left your wife and she was on her own, what would happen with your wife then?
She'd have to walk around it. Me and her...
How would she walk around it then? If she can't drop the kids and collect the kids and she can't afford a childminder, what would she do?
She'd have to do something about it.
Okay, but it is not, as far as you're concerned, Paul, it is not up to an employer to show a bit of leeway.
No, it's not fair, Age. If you had your own business and you were sorting out interviews, would you turn around and say, well, listen, look, I need you to work 9 to 5. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 2 hours off every day to look after your kids and I'll pay you for it. Cop on.
But this lady's talking about she'll take a pay cut in order to get the hours she wants.
Yeah, that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, if the employer can't do it because they need her to do a certain job, then they cannot do it. A girl was on earlier on saying she sends her kids to after school. Send your kids to after school and pay for it. Go into your job at 8:30 as you normally did. If you can't get off at 2:30 to collect them, go to after school. There's ways around it. Stop coming on the radio stations and crying and cribbing out you saying, I feel like a failed parent. She's not a failed parent. She's still out working. If she was a failed parent, she'd be sitting at home in her arse claiming lone parent. But she's not.
No, and she says she doesn't want. She says she doesn't want to, but she says I'm seriously considering leaving the workforce over this.
But why? Send your child to after school. I'm sure that lady that was just talking to me there, if she could not get out of her job, or if her mother failed to collect her kids for her, she'd sort something out like after school. We all have to do it.
Okay, stay there for a second, Paul. Anne, you're annoyed with Paul. Why?
Because it is bloody hard when you're on your own. It's different if you have the other half there to help you out. I know myself because I've done it. I've gone to work part-time and I've had my kids in tears, clinging on to me going out the door. And it breaks your heart. And I've gone to a job where I was in a job for 3.5 years and asked them, could I come in a bit earlier so I could be at home for my children? And I was told no. But I actually done it for a year. Went in, done me work for a year, done the hour that I wanted to do early. I got it done me job and came home, and I was on time for me kids then. But it is people that are looking for people like lone parents to work. They should prioritise and say to the people, well, listen, if you can work them hours for me, but if we can't, we'll work around it and help them out. That's what they want. They want these people. They want our lone parents.
Do you think that employers should be more flexible?
I think they should be, because it's women that want to go out and work, and for them to turn, I know it's not right for you to sit in an interview and say, well, listen, I can't do your hours, but I can do mine, but kind of get in between in the middle and say, is this okay? Would I be able to work these hours? You know what I mean? Because it is hard when you're at home trying to do kids. If you have your other half there, it is fine. You can.
Okay, Paul, what about that point? That you happen to have the support of your other half, so that makes it a bit easier for you.
It does.
Life doesn't work the way we all want it to work. If I wanted life to work the way I wanted to work, I'd love to have an hour off in the evening to go to the gym. I'd love to have an hour off every day to go home and spend more time with my kids. But the question
we're not on about taking the hour off. I'm not on about taking any time off. I'm on about if you have children at home and your husband or your fella is not there to help you out, when he's, like, just say he's gone to work, you're there now yourself, but that girl wants her job, she wants to keep her job, but she just wants them to kind of fiddle around with the times. And don't say, well, that's only suiting her. But that's the thing is, this country wants all the lone parents there working. But you have children as well to think of, especially when they're younger. When they're older, they can all fend for themselves.
I just have a question, Lou, okay? What would you rather have? What would you rather have? No money, okay?
No money.
Or would you rather go out and work a job where you can give your kids the best things that they could possibly have?
No, I'd rather be at home with my children.
Well, then don't work then. Don't work.
No, you're not hitting me. See, that's an ignorant person on the phone for you.
Okay, you'd rather work.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is difficult.
Very.
And how do you cope?
Well, I actually packed in my job because they found out that I was doing the hour before I was meant to come in, so I packed the job in and I'm at home now with my children. But I am getting another job that will suit the hours that I want.
So would you be the type of person that this employer who texted us in earlier was on about, going for a job interview, and before she even left the room, she was dictating the hours?
No, I wouldn't sit there in an interview and say, well, you have to turn around and say to people when you get the job, well, this is what I can work. These are the times I can work. And then they're going to say to you, well, this is what I'm looking for. If you're not suitable, move on. Go and look for another one. I love being at home with my kids. Love being it. And I know there's plenty of people that can't be at home with their kids. But as I said, at the minute now, I'm going to get another job. That'll suit me hours. I'll be home.
Your old job that you left, left because you just couldn't work within the hours?
No, I couldn't. My kids are more important than any job and any money.
Okay, now that's the exact dilemma that Abby is facing because her employer won't play ball with her, basically.
There should be leeway. She even said she'd work the extra, the hour that she wants to kind of get herself sorted and get her kids minded. It's very hard, and for that man to turn around because he has his other half there and the two of them are grand, you know which way things work. In the crash, kids all day. Put them in there and then we'll collect them at 5 or 6 in the evening. You're not even spending time with your kids, so why have them? You shouldn't have them at all anyway if you're going to work full time. Your kids are only being collected and put to bed at the end of the day. That's no life for a child. Why do you have a child? So you can see it and you can rear it yourself.
All right, stay there for 1 second, Dan, if you can, please. 6797981 is our telephone number. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note from Raymond, who has a little bit of advice to give.
Adrian, tell you the truth, she should just go on to the benefits. Just leave her job. She'll probably get more than taking a pay cut from benefits you get off the social and our medical card for our kids, everything else, and claim for bleeding everything she can, rent allowance, everything. Because these employers and this government need to realise that we don't have the big families we did 10, 15 years ago where you could drop your kids off around to the aunt or the uncles or your older brother or sister. Families are growing up now, only 1 or 2 kids, and they don't have the support we used to. So it's all childcare. It's all childcare being paid for. And it just doesn't make sense, the money that people are making to pay for childcare and come home with bleeding absolutely nothing at the end of the week. And they're wondering why there's so many people on the social. Bleeding country's a joke. I swear to God, this bleeding boils my blood, it does. Country has it, the government has the place on its knees. They should be working with employers for some sort of scheme for people to do that they can do these sort of hours to work around their kids' lives. It's an absolute joke.
Right, there's somebody who's a little bit angry. In fact, we've had a couple of people who were a little bit angry over that. A couple more messages just before we wrap this up. I work for an American global brand, and my boss is letting me change my hours as I'm moving to live in Wicklow. I can also work from home. I will never leave. Other companies need to get on board. It's 2019, says Mary. And that's great if you have a company that you work for that are like that. Unfortunately, for an awful lot of our listeners, they don't work for companies that are prepared to be as flexible as that. And a final message. I'm a single mother of 5. My partner passed away last year. I'm lucky enough to have a job that works around me, and I have my mum to mind the baby. Before I got this job, I found it very hard to find something to suit. Paul needs to have a bit of empathy. Not everyone has a partner or a mother to help out. Not all of us lone parents choose to be lone parents or want everything handed to us, says Ciara. Thanks very much indeed for your message, Ciara. This is 98FM.
98FM's Dublin Talks.
Message us now.
0877 98 98 98.
And this is Adrian, and that man there is Jeremy. Jeremy, I have to ask you a question. What are you like in the kitchen?
What am I like in the kitchen? Oh,
Yes.
narky. The same way I am anywhere else.
Well, I'm talking about actually your culinary skills.
Oh, my culinary skills. Exemplary. I'm one of the lucky people that I worked as a chef in a previous life. Before my illustrious radio career took off, I worked as a chef for 3 years. But I know where you're going with this, Adrian. You're going to ask, was I good as a teenager?
Yes.
And here's the thing. Yes, I was. As per the conversation we were just having a minute ago, I had 2 working parents when I was growing up. Both of them worked. And a lot of times we would come home from school and there would be no dinner because they're both in work. And you'd have a note that would be left there saying, there's pasta in the press, there's mince in the fridge. Go ahead and make yourself a spaghetti bolognese. And both me and my sister we trained ourselves, I suppose, and our mother and our father showed us, but we were both very good at making dinners. We weren't what this new generation is, who haven't got a clue.
Well, that's what we want to talk about, because celebrity chef Darina Allen has called for cooking to be made a compulsory subject in schools, insisting there are youngsters now who can't even make toast. She said that she's increasingly concerned that young people are losing out on a vital life skill as home economics isn't mandatory from primary school level onwards. She has pledged to step up her campaign to get cooking embedded in the school curriculum alongside core subjects like maths, English and Irish. And it raises the whole question about what you are like or your teenagers are like in the kitchen, and whether or not they have any skills.
Yeah, so I did some research into this, Adrian, to find out what stuff teenagers can't cook. And a lot of you listening who have teenagers at home, you're going to be able to relate to this, or maybe you can't. Well, you get a load of this. A cheese toastie. Okay?
Yep.
I would have thought a cheese toastie is one of the simplest things to make. I can make one in my sleep. Okay? 1 in 5 teenagers cannot make a cheese toastie.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
And where can you go wrong? At what point do you go wrong?
Yeah, okay.
Gets better, Adrian. 3 out of 5 teenagers, okay, so that's a lot of teenagers. 3 out of 5 teenagers haven't got a clue how to make scrambled eggs or an omelette.
Oh.
I mean, literally, lads, you break an egg, you put it in a pot, you stir it. You can't go wrong. Finally, 4 out of 5 teenagers wouldn't know how to cook a potato.
Really?
Yeah.
4 out of 5 don't know how to cook a potato.
Because they've never had to do it, or they've never been shown to do it. Now, these are stats from America, but I assume it's the same. Here. I would imagine, I'm just thinking of my cousins and stuff like that, they wouldn't have a clue how to make a cheese toastie. I mean, do you put the cheese on the inside, the outside? You ask most 15 or 16-year-olds, scramble us a bit of eggs there. What? Scramble bike? Scrambler?
Well, okay, here's the question we want you to answer. If you have teenagers, can they cook? Could they make themselves a spaghetti bolognese? Could any of your kids make themselves a lunch or even a dinner? And if they were at home alone and there was food in the fridge, could they make something for themselves? Or would they rather starve to death and go down to the chipper or the Chinese? We want to find out how good or useless your children are at making food. And also, if you're an adult who hasn't a bull's notion what to do in the kitchen, I would love to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Doreen Allen is basically saying that in the years to come, nobody's going to know how to cook.
So do you think there's lots of parents listening at the moment, Adrian, who have, say, let's give an example here, yeah? 14-year-olds, yeah? At 14, you should know how to make scrambled eggs in an omelette, yeah?
Yeah.
I was like a Michelin star chef at 14. So at 14 years of age, do you think there's many parents listening at the moment who have 14-year-olds who would not know? Let's give scrambled eggs as an example, yeah? It's my favourite thing because if you go home and there's nothing in the house, yeah? You open your fridge and it's desolate, yeah? There'll always be eggs there and there'll always be a bit of bread. So it's the one meal that literally you can make out of nothing, can't you? Would you imagine the majority of 14 or 15-year-olds wouldn't know how to make that?
Well, let's find out. Call us right now on 6797 981. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. And we're talking about teenagers and their inability to cook, but also adults who just haven't a clue. We're back in a second.
98FM's Dublin Talks with QuoteDevil.ie. Insurance specialists if you've open claims or too many penalty points.
98FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy. Now, I put my hands up. I'm not a great cook, I have to be honest with you. I never really have been. I can wrestle together a spaghetti bolognese and whatever, but I've never been a particularly good cook, to be quite honest with you. But I can sort of do it. Well, top celebrity chef Doreen Allen has called for cooking to be made a compulsory subject in schools, insisting there are youngsters now who can't make toast. She said that she's increasingly concerned that young people are losing out on a vital life skill as home economics isn't mandatory from primary level onwards. She pledged to step up her campaign to get cooking embedded in the school curriculum alongside English, maths and Irish. Cooking in schools. And I'd like to hear from you. What are your kids like in the kitchen? Can they do anything? And if they can't do anything, call me on 6797 981. And yeah, let me know how good, bad or indifferent they are. And also, how good, bad or indifferent are you? Now, let's have a listen. Oh, sorry. What's going on there? Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note.
Here. What is the world coming to if you can't make a scrambled egg or a cheese toastie? I was probably making cheese toasties when I was 7 or 8 at home. My son is 3. And like he already helps me mix stuff in the kitchen and everything like that because it's a life skill everybody needs to have. Who even thought of when we were coming up the ranks and everything to become an adult, that the worst thing about being an adult is trying to decide what to have for dinner every single night for the rest of your life. So you need to know what to do in the kitchen and have a bit of variance there.
Okay, now the point that Doreen Allen was making is that there are she's very concerned about the young crowd coming up now that haven't a clue. Some youngsters, she says, can't make toast. Carol, you're on 98FM. How are you, Carol?
Hi, I'm fine. Thanks very much.
Now, Carol, what do you want to say?
Well, basically, I would agree with Dorina Allen there, but I think a lot of it could be down to the fact that mothers are out working full time, because my older two kids, when I was working full time, they wouldn't have seen me at home cooking and doing lots of, say, household chores and whatever. But then I have, there's a bit of an age gap between them and my third child, who is 15 now, but I gave up work when I had her, and she's far more, because she sees me at home all the time doing cooking and cleaning and doing whatever, like, you know, normal daily duties. But she can cook up a storm now because she saw me doing it. And
but the other two, you're saying, just didn't see it. But did they not have to, I won't say survive for themselves, but did they not have to do a bit?
Not really, because by the time they came home from school, like if I was working, they would have been in daycare or after school care until 6 o'clock. So by the time they came home, I would cook up whatever for them, because they would be doing homework and whatever. So they never literally had to do it. Come weekends, we'd be out and about, or we'd get a carry out maybe on a Saturday or something like that. So Sunday would have been the only day we would have you know, cooked at home. I would have cooked all right in the evening time, but where they would have seen me cooking would have been only maybe on a Sunday, and even that, you know, they would be off doing their own thing. But the third child, who was at home a lot more, is completely a lot more domesticated, and I mean, she knows how to do the washing machine, the dishwasher, all of those appliances. She could do them when she was 4, whereas the others at 14 hadn't a clue
right,
where
okay.
the dishwasher was. You know.
Okay, so
I knew the difference straight away from just me being at home, the difference it made to them.
Right, okay.
Being at home.
So Dorina Allen says that there are youngsters now who can't make toast. She believes that it is a vital life skill that a lot of young people are missing out on now. And, you know, a lot of it is to do with, you know, the teenagers arrive home from school, there's nothing in, mammy's at work or whatever, and they just go and get a takeaway or, you know, rather than bother their arse to cook.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think but it's probably because if they wouldn't have seen it when they were younger, because they would have been probably in daycare or after school care up until they were 11 or 12. And then suddenly they can come home and be at home on their own, but they haven't been shown how to do any of these things. So
therefore, they wouldn't have the skills. Yeah, okay, stay there for 1 second, Carol. 6797981 is our telephone number. Text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. And we're also trying to find the youngest kid in Dublin who can make, let's use scrambled eggs as an example. Shay, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Shay?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Shay, your teenagers who are in their 20s now were useless.
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, and I suppose it just booked a trend because I was pretty similar myself. Mainly because just my mother done everything in the house, and we stood back and let her do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what about yours then? Were they the same? Did they have it all done for them?
Pretty similar, but I went to a co-educational school in Greystones, and I learned home economics. So I learned to cook, and then I learned to bake, and I actually loved it. So I suppose in a way I like doing it every day, getting dinners ready and stuff, but I also taught my children as I was doing it, you know, various bits and pieces.
Right, but you're saying that they were useless, though?
Well, they were useless at first, I suppose. They didn't know how to do anything late into their teens. You know, they waited for the stuff to be handed up to them.
Okay, so they only eventually started to learn how to cook certain things out of absolute necessity because it wasn't being handed up to them anymore. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And some of the stuff, now, I wouldn't like to describe it, but, you know, it didn't look edible to me anyway.
And, okay, so do you think it is a concern that people like Dorina Allen are calling for cooking to be made a compulsory subject because youngsters today can't even make toast?
I think it should still be left as a choice. Yeah.
Oh, we've lost him. Just got cut off in mid-flow. 6797981 is our telephone number. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note from Dennis, who says his daughter is absolutely amazing.
Hi guys, I have a 16-year-old daughter. She's a great cook. She can cook basically anything: pasta, steaks, potatoes, Sunday roast, and she makes the most amazing carbonara. Whereas I, on the other hand, would literally burn water, and I'm a 43-year-old man.
Oh, right, okay. That's nothing to be really proud of, Dennis, is it? Really? That your 16-year-old would buy and sell you in the kitchen? My eldest son is 12, says this message. He can cook any meal that I can. He enjoyed learning how to cook when he was younger, so I spent time showing him. Now he can cook good meals. I'm not saying he cooks much, but if he had to make a meal, he'd be able to, no problem at all. I think most kids like learning to cook when they are younger, so if we allow them to embrace it, they will always remember how to do it. And that's grand, until we go back to the conversation that we were having earlier about lone parents. Maybe you just don't have the time to be spending with the kids, showing them how to cook, although everybody has a weekend and whatever. And then here's a WhatsApp voice note from Michael.
Look, teenagers are going to do what teenagers do. If they don't know how to do something, they're going to watch a YouTube video on it. So before you know it, they're going to become experts on everything.
All right, Michael, thanks very much indeed. Eddie from Tala, we were talking about cooking being a compulsory subject, and here's a conversation for another day that maybe should happen. Eddie from Tala says driving should also be done as a subject in schools, in secondary school. I'd actually kind of agree with that. They do it in America, and, learning to drive isn't as big a deal, although, in order to do it properly, a school would need a fair bit of land, because they wouldn't be able to take them out on the road, so they'd have to do it within the school premises, and they'd have to have lots of space available. Kevin, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Kevin.
Hey, morning, Adrian. How are you?
What do you want to say, Kev?
I was brought up from an early age that I'd eat peeling potatoes and making chips and etc. And I've kind of installed that into them, because it's something like there's too many takeaways. And easy to get food takeaway.
This was the point that I was making, that we've become so used to fast food and takeaways and everything else that for a lot of teenagers, if they happen to be at home on their own for the day or for the afternoon, when it came to having something to eat, they'll just ring Just Eat or go on to justeat.ie.
My thing is, right, I know, look, ourselves and myself, we kind of instill and they're the thing is, they'll make, for Mother's Day, they'll make her breakfast, not for the Father's Day.
Yeah, but that's true.
But they can't do it. Yeah.
Okay, now Carl sent us this message to say this problem is only going to get worse here in Ireland, with kids living at home with their parents well into their 30s as a result of house prices. It's a good point, actually, Carl. So if your mammy spoils you rotten and you're going to be there till you're 35, you'll never learn how to cook. And Claire says there's definitely a generation gap when it comes to cooking.
There's definitely a generation gap between cooking. There's almost 10 years between myself and my sister. When I was younger, my mum worked part-time, and there was myself and my brother at home. I watched her every day cooking dinners, which I loved helping and watching and being a part of. So much from the time I was 10, I would ask, can I just cook the dinner by myself? Now my kids, I have the skill, my kids can come home and they've got homemade dinners every day. Now fast forward, for my sister growing up, both my parents had to work full time, and my sister went to a childminder, and now can't even peel a potato at 22. It's crazy, and she's no interest in learning either. So all this ties in with the previous conversation you had about the actual importance of having just one parent at home, whether it be the dad or the mum, just to teach household things. I completely agree with the lady that wants to make it compulsory in school. It's so important, these life skills. And we're having so much problem with obesity and everything because takeaway and grabbing sandwiches that are pre-made full of sugar, it's become the norm because generations can't
cook. Sorry, I can't come on air. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks very much indeed for your message, Claire. And another text message. My daughter is 22 and can't cook one thing. She is spoiled and it's all my fault and I blame myself, says that message. And Elaine's 4-year-old is actually very good.
Hi, Adrian. My nearly 4-year-old is brilliant. She can make scrambled egg and toast. She made me my birthday cake all by herself. And she makes the scrambled egg and toast for her sister's tea. And if she's hungry, she just goes and gets a bowl of cereal for herself. She's brilliant. She's always helping me with the dinner. I always take time to show her.
Oh, very good. Very good. Sarah Jane has the news in a moment. Could you cook when you were 4?
Not a chance.
Can you cook when you're...
I'm all right now, but it's taken a little bit of trying.
Sarah Jane is next, and Barry Dunn follows that. And if you... Barry has some great music lined up in the next hour, like these.
I wish you were on my land, watching America.
98FM's Dublin Talks with QuoteDevil.ie. Car and van insurance specialists for drivers with previous motoring convictions.
98FM.